So today what we're doing, we're going to take decimals, we're going to turn it into fractions. So I believe we've done this before once this year, but again, we're continuing on this next week or two. It's all about fractions, decimals, percents, changing one into another in like every possible way. So can anybody either remind us how to turn a decimal into a fraction, or just take on that first one and give me the answer? Sometimes people are more comfortable just sharing an answer to an example than they are how to do it. Anybody have a thought either on what this first one would be, or just how we're doing this?
7/10.
It is 7/10. This first one is going to be 7/10. That is true. So after seeing that happen, can anybody explain how it is we can take any decimal in the world and turn it into a fraction? Thoughts? Yeah.
Like 7/10.
Like where did that stuff come from?
Because because 7's in its like in the first place on the right.
Yeah.
Like,
So
in
the
10th
place value always goes on the.
Wait.
When we're making our answer, the place value is going to always
Oh,
go on the
bottom.
bottom. How do we do the top?
The number.
Yeah, just copy the number. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy the number that they give us that you can see with your eyes. But always copy that number without the decimal point anymore. Okay, decimals and fractions are like cats and dogs. They don't mix well. Oil and water, however you want to make the analogy. So we're going to copy the number without the decimal point on top of the place value. So by way of review, again, the first place after the decimal is what place? Tenths. If I go a second place, that's hundredths. A third place is thousands. If I went 6 places, what would that be?
Thousands.
Millions. Well, it's a quick way to remember and just do it without actually counting through them all. 6 places, millions. Why is that memorable?
It's rolled by the amount of zeros.
Amount of zeros. Million has 6 zeros. So if I go 6 positions, that's the millionths place, because million has 6 zeros, and I used 6 positions. Tenths has a single zero. Hundredths has 2 zeros. This is going to be the thousandths because it has 3 zeros. The amount of zeros is the same as the amount of spaces that you use. So somebody jump in with 0.8. Any kind of question or thought on 0.8? Go ahead.
8 over 10.
8 over 10 is good for us. Somebody jump in on 0.17. 17 over 100 is good for us. Somebody jump in, like 15 over 100 is a win. Somebody that didn't go yet?
137 out of 10,000.
137 out of 1,000. Somebody else that didn't go yet? Pick on you because you're close.
375 over 1,000.
375 on top of 1,000 is good. Last one? Yeah. 8 over 1,000 is good. The other thing we're not going to copy is unnecessary zeros at the beginning. You don't want to put 008 over 1,000. These are called placeholding zeros. They're just getting the 8 to the right place. But we don't want to put 008 over 1,000. Just put 8 over 1,000. Somebody should be thinking or wondering a question or ready to say, hey, wait a minute. Why should we be thinking a question or saying, hey, wait a minute? Because I'm not totally satisfied with what we've got going to this point. Thought on what am I driving at here?
Reducing.
We need to reduce. We always look to reduce. Anytime you're trying to do a fraction answer of any sort, you've got to think about reducing. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Somebody squat one that is reduced already. We can't do any better. This is as good as it's going to get. We're happy.
7/10.
7/10. Choice A, 7/10 is the best we can do. Nothing can go into 7 other than 1 in itself. What kind of number is that? Just yell.
Prime.
Prime. 1 in itself is all that goes into 7. Neither of those go into 10 in a helpful way. I mean, 1 can always go in, but it doesn't reduce. 7 can't help you reduce, so A is just good. Somebody spot me one that's not the best, something we can improve what it is. B. we can make this a better fraction, because who goes into both of those? 2. Take 2 in, what's our best answer? 4/5 is our best answer. Somebody spot me either one that is good or isn't good, doesn't matter to me, just make a verdict on any of these. If it's not good, let's try to make it better than it is. G, good or bad? Bad. Who can go into 8 that also can go into 1,000? 8 itself. 8 itself can go into both of those. Could you have used 2 and 4 to get going? Sure, but you'd have had to reduce in 2 jumps. There's nothing wrong with that as long as you make all the jumps. What do you think if you divide 8 into both?
1/125.
It is 1/125, that is true. Somebody else jump in, either something that's good already, or no, we're not happy with it.
For F, by 475,000 is 3/8.
It is gonna be 3/8. How'd you do that?
From last year, I remember.
You just remember it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna do that. Eventually, soon, this week, we're gonna take decimals and we're gonna memorize fractions and decimals that go with each other. If you didn't remember that from 6th grade, because I know that they did that in the 6th grade book with you guys, who could have divided into both of those if you had to do it by dividing? No, 3 won't do the 5.
Oh, no, I remember 5,
5 could do both.
because 5 and 0.
Yep. Anybody have something bigger than 5? 25 could do both. Even 125 could do both. But if you think of stuff that can do divide both, we could get there eventually. Somebody else weigh in, either one that is good or one that isn't. D, good or bad? Bad. Who can go in to make it better? 15 can't evenly go into 100. No, think smaller than that. 5. 5 into 15? 3. 5 into 100 is like 5 into 10, just with an extra 0. So 20. Something about C or E, an opinion on those, Carter? C's good. 17's another prime, and 17 can't go into 100. There's no way to really break that down. How about the 137? Yeah, we're thinking no. You could try stuff. I mean, since this is an odd, the only thing that can divide into odds are other odds. There are not very many odds that can go into 1,000. The only odd that I can think of that goes into 1,000 are things that end in 5. So things that end in 5 can't divide into things that end in 7. Things that end in 5 can only divide other things that end in 5. So this 137 over 1,000, that's stuck. I'm pretty sure 137 is a prime. I don't think anything can do divide to 137. Question about the idea of this?
So when you said that, like, stuff we learned in 6th grade, did you mean like divisibles?
No, I was thinking, I know there was a time in 6th grade that the book had things like 5/8 is point whatever. And you temporarily at least memorized some of those. Like you still probably know, everybody, that a half is 0.5. You probably, a lot of people know that a fourth is 0.25. We had at least one person know that 3/8 was 375. Does anybody remember 5/8? It doesn't matter yet, but that's something that we'll be doing through the week. 5/8 is 625. But at some point, your book had you memorizing those so that if you had to change one, you didn't have to really work at it. It's just like, well, you know a half is 0.5, you know 0.5 is a half. You don't need an instruction manual of how to change it. You just,
Okay, I thought you were talking about
you just knew
divisibles.
it. But there's a few decimals that are out there. The 6th grade book did, I'm going to say like 30 or so of them, where they said, hey, if you memorize these, it might speed up your future life, which is true, but it wasn't like super pounded into you enough repetition to do it. Like when you learn your times tables, 4 times 8 is 32. They like pounded that into you year after year until you had it. Nobody's really pounded into you that 0.375 is 3/8. I will this week. I'll start to pound that into you. And a week from now, everybody will know that 3/8 is 0.375. But we don't know that yet, and that's okay. It's coming though. Question, anything else about turning decimals into fractions?